process of packing up my entire life and moving halfway across the country. And no, I'm not moving for work. I'm not moving for school. I'm definitely not moving for a relationship. Well, I'm not moving for a man. And I basically don't know anyone who lives in the city that I'm moving to. So let's talk about it. Hello, beautiful people. My name is Muftia, aka Moof, and I am currently in the process of moving from Maryland, the good old DMV, my heart, to the Windy City, Chicago, Illinois, in about 2 weeks. Yep.
Do you know you have 30 minutes?
So I just want to talk about what has gotten me to making this kind of drastic of a change. So I have always lived in Maryland. I've lived in Maryland my whole life. This is where I went to school. I grew up. I went to college here, grad school, got my first job out of college. When I moved out of my parents' house, I just moved to be closer to DC proper. But Maryland is the only home I've ever known.
You need to leave.
I've always wanted to experience living outside of the DMV. My senior year of high school, I only applied to one school in state because I was trying to get out. I was trying to run away. I was trying to spread my wings and fly. But honestly, God had other plans because the one school that I applied to in state ended up giving me a full ride, and it seemed like a no-brainer decision to make. I will just never regret the decision. I don't take it for granted. So when people ask me, now why I'm moving, the simplest reason, and I would say the most base level reason for why I want to move is basically everything I said before is I still want to experience living outside of the DMV. I still want to experience somewhere else other than Maryland because this is all I've ever known. Also, I'm single, no kids, no mortgage, and I have a remote job. So there's no time like now for me to capitalize on doing something as drastic as moving 700 miles away. But if I were to give a more honest and maybe even more vulnerable reason for why I am moving is that I found myself becoming someone who says she wants to do a lot of things and then I don't follow through on it. To the point that family members, when I finally told them oh yeah, I'm actually moving, they were like, you've been saying you're gonna move.
And
they didn't really think it was gonna happen. And I had also had a moment where I was like, girl, you say you want to do things and I just feel like you're not gonna do them. And I didn't like that. I have a lot of anxiety and I crave certainty even though life is inherently uncertain. And I just have done a lot of growth and gotten out of my depressive state of life within the last maybe 2 years. And I've realized that I lack a lot of trust and confidence within myself to make my own decisions or do challenging things. I'm someone who I want to do something and I feel like I need so many people to co-sign it because I don't trust my own judgment in a way, or I don't feel like I have the confidence to actually do something. And even with a bunch of support, I will still hold myself back, and I don't like that. I need to stop rejecting myself. I need to stop cutting myself off from taking risk and doing things because I think I'm gonna fail, because I think it may not work out. I'm capable of more than I allow myself to experience. For me, doing this big of a move, moving 700 miles away to a city where I don't know anyone, leaving my friends and family behind, is kind of a love letter to myself in a weird way. I think the experience is going to help in instilling trust and confidence with myself that I am capable of doing things. I am capable of trusting my own judgment, and nothing has to be permanent. If I move to Chicago and I absolutely hate it, I'm not stuck there. Because I don't get out of my comfort zone a lot, I will feel like I'm stuck somewhere. And I think this experience is reminding me I'm not stuck and I'm capable of doing things and failing, doing things and it being successful. I'm just capable. So I really have set an intention for myself that I want to push myself out of my comfort zone and do more things that I have always wanted to try, and I've honestly stopped myself from doing. Moving being one of them, posting on YouTube being another one of them, and that's what I'm doing. This is my first step in hopefully many. So I'm sure you may be thinking, okay girl, but why Chicago though? When I tell people I'm moving to Chicago, I get a variation of one of these three responses. The first one is like, oh, you're moving to Chicago? You know it's super cold there. Yes, I know it's very cold. I'm not foreign to the cold or winter. Like, Maryland gets snow. I know it's more extreme there, but I'm like, damn, can a girl just be excited? The other response I tend to get is, why are you moving to Chicago? You know the crime is really bad. They'll make some kind of joke about Chirac, like,
oh my god, corny, lame, boo, tomato, I'm throwing tomatoes.
And the other response that I may get is like, oh my goodness, I love Chicago. It's such a beautiful city. When people respond like that, that's my favorite. That's when I know I found my people. I'm like, yeah, you get it. Because I've been to Chicago. I spent an entire summer there in college for an internship, and it is a beautiful city. I think it's gorgeous. But Chicago wasn't like the first place I wanted to move. I actually don't really think I started considering Chicago until like the last 2 years. And when I got serious about, okay, girl, you're gonna make this move, you're gonna do this thing, I realized that everything I was looking for in a place to live is already in DC. But I was like, no, you're gonna get out of DC. So I needed another city that could kind of give me a lot of things that DC has without it being DC. Criteria was really like good public transit. That was being number one. I have a car. I do drive. I hate driving. Like the DC Metro, with all its flaws, is one of my favorite things about DC. So good public transit. And when that's like your number one thing in the US, that cancels like so much of the country. Then the other thing was like, I didn't want to be on the West Coast because there's something very sinister to me about being on a nearly 6-hour flight and still being within the US. Like, that really grinds my gears. I hate flying coast to coast. And I'm like, I know I'm gonna come back to Maryland frequently enough because all my family's here. I'm not doing the West Coast. So when all of that came together, the list of cities that really were options was New York City. New York City was ruled out before I even was researching because New York is just too much for me. I'm not built for New York. I'm a weekend, maybe 4-day max trip to New York City. Philly was another city that was suggested. Philly has a lot of the aspects of New York that I hate. I just don't think my personality is compatible with Philly, to be honest. They will stomp all over me if I move to Philly. Boston, I don't like Boston. I lived in Philly before I lived in Boston, to be honest. It's just not my vibe. Uncomfortable energy. I feel like they don't want me there when I'm in the city, and I'm like, fine, I'll leave. So all roads kept leading back to Chicago. The only con for Chicago was the winters. I really had to sit with myself, and I was like, okay, girl, this city has everything you want, and the one con you have is the winter. Now, again, I'm not undermining Chicago winters, but I was like, girl, if Chicago has literally everything else you want and you actually enjoy it there, you better get some winter gear, bundle up like a burrito. You can just sandwich yourself and you can survive. And if you really hate it that much, again, you can just end up leaving. You can do one winter there, but if you don't bundle yourself up and get yourself there, please.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
So yeah, I'm moving to Chicago. This is definitely the biggest thing I've ever done, the biggest change I've ever undertaken. Like, I'm very anxious about having to meet new people and like make new friends, but I truly just have a very strong feeling that this is going to be a transformative experience for me. I have a lot of excitement about doing this for myself. Okay. So I have already found an apartment. I went in December apartment hunting. So I found an apartment. I am currently in the middle of packing. My apartment is pure chaos and I'm definitely very, very overwhelmed. And I only have 2 more weeks to pull it together.
We are literally a week behind. We're 2 weeks behind.
You know, the pressure is on. The pressure is getting worse. At the end of the day,
The end of the day got to end.
I feel overwhelmed now, but at the end of the day, the apartment will be packed by the time the movers come, and I will be in Chicago by the time my flight comes. So if you have ever done a big move like this, or if you have any tips about living in Chicago, I've gotten the winter boots, the winter coats, the layering, like I have a lot of that done, but if you have any more tips, please let me know. Leave me a comment. I would literally love to hear from y'all. Also, if you have any like must-have experiences that I should have while I'm in Chicago, I think I want to make a bucket list of things I want to do and experience while I'm living there. So if you have any suggestions related to that, please leave a comment and let me know. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like if you feel so inclined. I would love that, but also like no pressure. I won't apply pressure to you the way this move is applying pressure to me, but it's okay. you're interested in following me on this journey, hearing more of my thoughts and my ramblings, get to know me more while I have this like video diary, video journal-esque YouTube channel, consider subscribing to keep up. And I will catch all you lovelies in the next video. Bye!